Jack. Welcome back. Are you going to tell us another story?
Hi everyone. Of course, switch on your antennas and get ready to pop into Andy Warhol's colourful world.
Today we are learning about Andy Warhol. Who was Andy Warhol and why do you need to know about him? Andy Warhol was an American artist, film director, producer, and leading figure in the pop art movement. He started his life in a poor Czechoslovakian immigrant family and had to overcome a disabling disease during his childhood. But through his huge creativity, talent, and strong ambition, he ended up becoming a rich and famous artist. Andy Warhol's life is an example of someone who did live the American dream and achieve his greatest aspirations. He was born Andy Warhol on the 6th of August in 1928 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, United States. No, it's not a mistake. He was born Warhol and known as Warhol. We'll tell you why in a bit. Among the curious facts to know about him is that his birthday was never recorded at the hospital, and Andy, who had a great sense of humor and loved to see people's reaction, liked to change the day of his birthday and make up stories about it. Andy was only 8 when he contracted chorea, a rare disease also known as St. Vitus's dance. This disease affected his nervous system and left him bedridden for months. It is during this time that his mother introduced him to drawing and bought him coloring and comic books to keep him entertained. He collected pictures of movie stars and set up a makeshift darkroom in the basement to develop the films he took with his first camera. This period has been really important in the development of his personality, skills, and preferences. Who knows, maybe without this challenging event in his life, he wouldn't have developed his interests and passions and he wouldn't have become an artist. Andy used art and creativity to go through a very difficult time in his life, finding comfort in them and a way to express himself. His dad had recognized his son's artistic talent, and in his will, he dictated that his life saving would go towards Andy's college education. Andy enrolled in the Carnegie Institute of Technology, where he studied commercial art. He earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Pictorial Design in 1949. Then he moved to New York City, where he started his career in magazine illustration and advertising. On his second day in the big city, he got a commission from Glamour magazine. His drawings are very crude, blotted lines, in total contrast with the very sophisticated and detailed one of the time. It was an instant success, and he was soon regarded as a new shining star. By accident, on one of his first jobs, his name in the credits was misspelled Warhol instead of Warhola. Andy liked the name and decided to keep it. This is when he dropped the A at the end of his surname. But Andy's sheer ambition pushed him to try to become not only an illustrator, but a proper artist. Not only an artist, but a very rich one. In 1961, Andy came up with the concept of using mass-produced commercial goods and images in his art. He called it pop art and is considered the father of this movement. Pop art is all about making art inspired by things from popular culture, from which the name derives. Pop stands for popular. Popular culture is anything from Coca-Cola to pop stars, from comic books to the clothes people like to wear. It's meant to be fun, bright, ironic, and accessible to everyone. His work tried to remove the difference between fine art and commercial one, used for illustrations, books, and campaigns. It represents a sort of a bridge between the two arts. Andy challenged the public idea of what is a valuable object to paint. The idea behind his art was, you need to let the little things that would ordinarily bore you suddenly thrill you. Unlike the majority of the artists, Andy saw art as a business and a way to make money, and he thought depicting well-known and popular things would have helped him selling his paintings. And it did help indeed. It is during this time that he developed a technique for projecting images onto a silk screen to create repetitive designs. He would reproduce the same portraits over and over again, but using different colors and effect in each picture. He screen printed hundreds of prints featuring all 32 varieties of a popular brand of soup in the US, and made the now iconic painting of Campbell's soup. Did you know Andy Warhol said that he ate Campbell's tomato soup every day for 20 years? Yep, that's a lot of soup. His mom, who taught him to draw and was super creative, used to make cool stuff out of the soup cans. She would cut flowers from them to sell or use them as vases for real flowers. Andy and his mom lived together in New York for over 20 years, and she was a big inspiration to him. Oh, and with them lived 25 cats. That's a lot of furry friends. At first, Andy and his mother owned a lonely cat named Hester, but to keep her company, Andy started his own cat colony, and guess what? He named them all Sam. Andy's life was full of interesting things, just like his art. Always open to new ideas and modern approaches, in 1963, Andy visited the exhibition of a Japanese artist, Yayoi Kusama. Her plaster rowboat was surrounded by wallpaper with repeated identical photocopies of the image. Andy was mesmerized by the effect this installation created, and few years later, he stole her idea, or got inspired by it, and covered the ceiling and the walls of a gallery with silk-screen posters of a cow face. Andy experimented a lot with his style too, and he created a very particular and personal one. Warhol's disheveled white blonde hairstyles became his signature look, as did his leather jacket and dark sunglasses. In his early 20s, Andy Warhol began wearing a wig. At first, it was to cover up his advancing baldness. However, as the years went on, the unique silver wig became a recognizable feature of the public figure of the artist. With it, Warhol imprinted his image on the world. Andy also painted many self-portraits and celebrity portraits. His most famous subjects include movie stars like Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor, but also political figures of the time, such as Mao Zedong and Nixon. In 1964, he set up a studio and named it The Factory, as a reference to the mass-produced nature of his work. Andy covered the place on the inside with silver aluminium foil, which created interesting effects when using flash photography. The Factory became soon a popular gathering spot for a wide range of artists, writers, musicians, and celebrities. In 1964, he decided to stop painting and starting his film career. How can you describe many of his films in one word? Long. His epic black and white silent film Empire was created when he set his camera on a tripod and filmed one shot of the Empire State Building, a famous New York City landmark, as it disappears into the night. It lasts for 8 hours and 5 minutes. The idea behind his set was to watch time passing. In his films, Warhol often placed the camera in a static position, allowing events to unfold in real time, capturing the authenticity and banality of life. Exactly what he did in his paintings. On the 3rd of June in 1967, a woman named Valerie Solanas, who was a feminist and a playwright, came into Andy's Warhol studio and shot him twice in the stomach. She blamed Andy for losing her film script, which is why she shot him. Andy's life was saved after 5 hours of surgery, and the shooting had a major impact on Andy's life and work. In the late 60s, he produced the experimental rock band The Velvet Underground and designed one of the most iconic album covers of all the time, featuring a simple yellow banana on their debut record. Andy designed the album covers of some of the greatest musicians of the time, such as Diana Ross, John Lennon, and Aretha Franklin. After a trip to Paris, Andy came back home inspired and with a new desire to paint and experiment new techniques. He created what he called his oxidation painting, where he tested chemical reaction using the acid in urine with a variety of metal paints. In 1987, he was then commissioned to create a series of religious paintings which culminate with the take of one of the best-known images in the world, The Last Supper from Leonardo da Vinci. In the same year, after having a routine operation for a gallbladder complaint, he died in his sleep from a sudden post-operative irregular heartbeat, aged just 58. Andy Warhol was an avid collector. One of his main ones was of his wigs. He owned more than 40. After his death, it took Christie's 10 days to auction off all his stuff. Andy's collection included Coca-Cola sign, airplane menu, unpaid invoices, supermarket flyers, cookie jars, and other eccentricities. You can find some of his items in the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh. The sale of the rest of the content of his house raised $25 million and set the basis of the Andy Warhol Foundation for Visual Art, which gives grants to organizations and institutions that supports young emerging artists.
Wow, so if I drew my favorite cookies, am I doing pop artwork?
Exactly. That is pop art and Andy's idea of art. Andy Warhol showed us that art is not only in museums, it's everywhere, even in everyday stuff like soup cans or your favorite toy or cookie. Even the most common objects can be transformed into something extraordinary through artistic expressions. You just need to stop and take the time to look at those things.
If I were you, I will keep eating your cookies instead of drawing them. You're not so good at it.
No. You should definitely have go and do it. Andy Warhol showed us that there is not a right way to make art. You can paint, draw, sculpt, whatever you want. Your art is like talking without words, showing what you think and feel. So go wild, try new things, mix colors, use weird stuff. There are no rules. Your art is yours and it's awesome just because it's yours. And don't worry about what anyone else thinks. Your creativity is your superpower, like it had been for Andy. As he once said, don't think about making art, just get it done. Let everyone else decide if it's good or bad, whether they love it or hate it. While they are deciding, make even more art. So be inspired and get creative.